Hello there and welcome to Smart Device Society, and you may be viewing this presentation on my YouTube channel or on the website below at www.smartdevicesociety.com. Now, the purpose of this presentation is to really explore the implications of smart devices in the world today. Now, what I mean by smart devices, I use the term smart devices to mean collectively your Android, your Apple smartphones, tabs and iPads. So I'll use the term interchangeably with smartphones and so forth. So I just want to go through just a brief history of the mobile phone before I get to the main point. So we'll just move on to the next slide. So in the beginning, we had very basic communication. It's not too long ago we used to use telephones, like the one you see in the picture here. Looking back, just 20 years ago or more, I can't believe that we actually used to use these to contact people. We used to use a dialer and then wait for a moment, and then the phone would ring, and you couldn't take this around with you. It could only be used in the home, or if you were out and about, you could only use a telephone box to call people. So moving on. What was interesting about this period, though, is that when we made agreements with people to meet up and for a date or a social gathering, we made sure we kept our promises, because there was no way to contact the person once you started the journey. So generally people were on time, promises were made, promises were kept, people were focused on each other because there were no other distractions. So moving on. So if we go into the 1990s now, we see the arrival of what was known as GSM 2G mobiles. So they were initially contract only, and contracts were very expensive in this period. Typically you would pay for the phone, then you would pay a connection charge, and then there would be another charge for this, and then there'll be another charge for that, and then you'd have your monthly bill, and then the cost per minute was typically 50 to 80 pence. So you can imagine the cost of having a phone in the early 1990s. So what the communication providers decided to do was to expand their customer base, realizing the costs, so to introduce prepay. The idea of a prepay mobile was that you could buy a phone and then you could buy call credit, which would be credited to your account, and then you could make calls, and then most importantly send cheap text messages to other people's with other mobiles. And so that was a good alternative at the time, and it was relatively cheap, much cheaper than having a contract. Now, the idea, that you could send a message to somebody else was the start of a big social change, I feel, because when we've made agreements now, we could send a text message if we were late, and we could even cancel at the last minute. Something's come up or I can't make it, just from that one change. So we could already see the beginnings of big social changes just from the text message alone. So moving on. If we look ahead several years now, to around about 1999, 2000, and we see the introduction of WAP mobile phones. So the idea of WAP was that, okay, we're expanding beyond just calling people and texting people now, and then we're now looking at accessing the internet on our mobiles. So on WAP phones we could have access to our emails, and then we could even access internet banking in this period as well. So we can see now that the mobile phone is expanding into a more multi-purpose device. So moving on. If we look ahead another 3 or 4 years now, the 3G networks are established, and we now see 3G mobile phones release. So this is quite a big change now, because the mobile phone has now become multi-purpose. So we have full internet access, we have full email access, and we have a variety of multimedia functionality that we never had before. So our phones are now becoming our MP3 player, our camera, our video camera, and various other things. And we start to see the idea of downloadable applications to our mobiles to further expand the functionality. So if we look ahead several years now, like almost a decade now or more, to 2012, we see the 4G mobile networks being established, and 4G mobiles are now much more than the original mobile that we once knew. We have fast internet access, and we now have social media, which has now been around for several years, and the idea that we can tweet and we can send messages on Facebook, the device is fully multifunctional. It's several different devices in one, and now the mobile has become the smartphone, and it's no longer really known as a mobile phone. It's a smartphone because of the sheer amount of things that you can do with them. You can now see downloadable apps as standard, and now smartphones are used more than computers, much more, in fact. And looking ahead now again 2 or 3 years later to 2014 and 15, we now see smartwear, or smartwatch. And from my perspective, it's really an extension of the mobile phone, because now smartwatch is linked wirelessly to our smartphones, and we can receive our WhatsApp or text messages or other notifications, or we can even make calls on them, and in some cases browse the internet as well. Now if we look ahead at present day 2015, which is when this video was made, socially people have really changed now in my opinion and observations. There are constant distractions. People are always on their mobiles. The sheer amount of information that we have access to, people are tweeting, people are looking at their Facebook posts, people are looking at videos, people are upgrading their LinkedIn profiles or updating their LinkedIn profiles, and the list goes on. And we're constantly switching from one thing to the other, unable to really concentrate on any one thing anymore because of the sheer amount of information. And in some drastic cases, people have actually become a danger to themselves, because tragically people have been killed not looking where they're going, been run over or knocked over by trains. So we now have potentially serious issues to deal with now in today's world of smart devices. Even families are distant now. Those who are IT literate or have a phone are on their phones in social gatherings, and people are still on their phones even when they socialize in general. So the smartphone has seeped its way into every aspect, or almost every aspect of our lives. And now there are literally now millions of smart devices worldwide, millions of users. The smart device, again, is used in almost all aspects of life. And the question really remains now is, could people now live without them if they had to? This is really the whole point of the website, is to explore these issues that I've mentioned in this presentation. And it is my hope that we can come up with ideas on how to take our reliance off of technology running our lives. Now, I don't mean by that take it away completely, but I mean learn to utilize our natural senses, because when we place too much reliance on a device to run our lives, then the implications are is that without that device, we would be unable to function, and the consequences of that could be quite serious. So I hope that I can get feedback from people on how to find a balance point where we're really using our minds again, our natural senses and technology in good ways, so that it benefits us and doesn't lead us into detriment. I want to thank you for watching this presentation, and please check out the website as well, as that will have articles and interviews which will be viewed, and to which we can share feedback on. And many thanks.